conditions. Uh, is it? Good. I didn't like the way I said that.
Say it again.
So these are the existing conditions and they might be stepping off points for discussions. And you can comment on any of these things. I might throw out a few ideas that I've thought of too, but we welcome any and all your ideas on these sorts of things and why don't you, let's start the discussion and see what you'd like to talk about. Or I could go through them step by step. All right.
I can start since the first is walk and hike. I represent the Historic Commission and I'd say the main focus in the last few years has been developing a historical trail off River Road. 2 historic signs have been put in already with the money coming from the town to the Historical Commission. There are 2 cellar holes and there is the site of the Plainfield Animal Pound, which I intend to rebuild, but with more help from the town for site work. At the moment, we're waiting for the town to take possession of these 2 small lots that one a cellar hole is on and the other the pound is on. I've been told by the town treasurer that should be in place by the end of the year. So then hopefully some more money will be available to get a real trail in and rebuild the pound, the stonework.
I'm not sure everybody knows what a pound is, the town pound is, you might want to explain that.
It's this pound was built in 1807. Like many pounds, it was 30 by 30 feet and 6 feet tall, quite a lot of stonework. When rediscovered by myself and Matt Stoll a few years ago, there were about maybe 2 feet of stone going around. I think a lot of the stone is left. In any case, the wayward animals were put there and the people who owned them had to pay a fine to the pound keeper who usually lived nearby before they could get their animals back. And all towns had them. Covington has a very good one, actually. In any case, the plan is to rebuild the pound over the next few years and make it a nice historic trail, which is very close to where we are right here. And I look forward to developing it.
I want to also point out that the Historical Society has developed some maps of various things around here. There's an excellent guide to the mills on Mill Brook. And there's one on the stone walls around the town. And, you know, these are really valuable. I know they're probably out of print now, but they could be probably reprinted for people that want to check these out. Or possibly have guided tours of some of these places. Okay, the other thing is that
Excuse me, can I just wanted to say something. First of all, those of us who are zooming in can't see the list that you're looking at, so we don't know what to comment on. But secondly, I think maybe the pound could be renovated and we could use it for wayward animals today. I hear there are a few in town.
Oxen, maybe
Dogs.
dogs.
Holly, what do you suggest? So that
I've
people can see
I've
this.
heard of a few wayward cows lately.
I'm trying to get to that.
I move in
Maybe
front
you
of
can
it.
type the topics into the chat, just so people in Zoom can see it. So they're not
Good
that
idea.
many here.
Good idea.
Mhm. So let's keep rolling all that.
Yeah, we need.
Yeah.
There are a lot of hiking trails around us in the various forests, the state forests. And there are maps for all of these places. I could enumerate them, but you're probably familiar with some of them, like for example, the Audubon Preserve on West Mountain and so forth. And each of them has a trail maps listed, which I've probably hiked on most of them. So I know them pretty well. And I was thinking it might be nice to have like a stash of these maps on the town website or something, if someone's interested in perusing all the various.
So that brings up the question, Jack, where are these trail maps? How does one access them?
Well, for example, let's say you pick the Kevin Dubuque Forest, you go to the DCR website. And
Okay,
they
so
have all the maps.
online basically.
That's one example.
Okay, right. I mean, you're probably familiar with Ashfield walks. They have
Yeah, that's
published.
one of the ones too, I'll mention.
Yeah, they have a wonderful series of
Sure.
published hikes, and the hikes are often at the trailhead. You can actually take a.
Yeah, they've done a
brochure.
wonderful job over
Yeah.
there. Yeah. Yes.
Kara Marshall, I was on a group in town. That worked with a larger group, and we developed a walkability map. For
Yes.
town, I don't know if you're gonna talk about those or not, but those are available, there are eight different towns, hill towns. And the maps are available at the library,
Yeah, that's a good point.
so those shouldn't get left out.
That's why I mentioned the town map, but there are others that you might want to go to. And they're really nice.
David Kramer has his hand raised and would like to say something.
Thank you. Another possibility for making maps available is not only to have maps at the trailhead, but to have a QR code at the trailhead. I've seen that on some trails, and you just point your phone at it and a map gets downloaded onto your phone. So think about it.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jerry, unmute yourself.
Just when you mentioned that these maps, we had the Plainfield walks and the 7 other towns. The library has all 8 towns. As you walk in the door, halfway up into the library, you take that step up, the maps are just to the right. And the maps for Plainfield are also available at the transfer station. So these are wonderful, and they have 8 or 10 different trails with information on them, and they're available at the library and at the transfer station.
Yes, Judy.
Could we jump ahead and talk about the pond? I can't stay terribly long.
All right, can jump
Are we
into.
still on walks and hikes, or are we ready?
Yeah, let's.
Maybe before we jump ahead, Delila has something to ask.
I do, but it's about the trails. So if Judy can't stay long, I can just come back.
If we're still on trails, I didn't know we were moving on to another topic. Go ahead.
Well, my question was around maintenance. So my understanding there, all of these different trails have different people that are responsible for them. I'm assuming like the Audubon Trail is kind of, it's not very well maintained. I'm just curious, like, if there are any thoughts or plans for how to have a little bit more consistency and to keep the trails accessible.
The quality of the trail varies quite a bit. The Asheville trails are real well maintained. Not all the DCR trails are in great shape, except for the old town roads and the Kevin Dubuque Forest. Those are all regularly used. They're used by the snowmobile club, so that they keep them clear. And there's some really nice mountain bike trails in that, and the mountain bike club keeps those well repaired. And they're great in the winter too, to go over. But you know, it does vary, and you know, as we have more severe storms, there's gonna be a lot of deadfalls out there, and you may have to get invented to get around all that stuff. Or else bring a saw with you as you go along. Yeah, so that's true. All right, so we move to the pond then. Judy?
Judy Ferber, 14 Union Street. I just wanted to give an update about the status of the Plainfield Pond Committee, where we are in our work. So we're kind of at a crossroads. So some people know, we formed the Plainfield Pond Committee about, is it 1 year, 2 years ago, I think at this point? And through the One Plainfield process, applied for, some ARPA funds, which we were allocated, with the intent of applying for DCR's 2-for-1 matching grant. Which would have secured an additional $25,000 for the town. Well, we came to find out at some point this past year, the DCR had run out of funding for that program for 2024 and 2025, the funds are spoken for. So, which leaves us in a bit of a quandary about how to spend those original monies. In the process of doing a lot of research and planning, you know, with the intent of getting that grant, we found out a couple of really important things. A lot of deed research was done. We learned that the DCR does in fact own the Plainfield Pond Dam, which we did not know initially. So that's hugely important because the dam, the water levels, the low water levels were a big concern initially when this committee formed. They're not so much now. There are a lot of beaver in the pond, lots of beaver activity, so water levels have been pretty healthy. But were the dam to fail at some point, presumably the DCR would be responsible for that repair, which would be hugely expensive. Don't know what they would do. And they're very interested in partnering with us. They just ran out of money for that grant program. And the other thing that we learned was that there was a study done of plant life in Plainfield Pond in 2021 by accident. The DCR had commissioned Wendy Gendron, who's an environmental consultant, to study a lot of lakes and ponds in Massachusetts. She was doing a study of Crooked Pond. She had not been commissioned to do a study of Plainfield Pond, but inadvertently did one anyway and has shared that with us. The 2021 study showed that there was no presence of invasive plant species at that time. That was another big question we were hoping to answer. It doesn't mean that there, in the last several years, some haven't emerged, but at that time there were not. One of the third areas we were concerned about was the impact of how the pond of usage, basically how the pond is currently being used. Because the usage really increased, you know, from the pandemic on, and I think with the internet and just more information being available to the public. There are more people using the pond, and there's one small sign posted in a tree on the beach that states what the rules are, but many people ignore those rules. And some of the rules are like that there are no boats on the beach, no smoking, no dogs, no fishing, some for safety reasons, many of those things. So those rules are ignored. So one of the things that, not by everybody, most people respect them, but they're ignored by some people. And even when they're, you know, if people politely remind them, some people just don't care and do it anyway. So we were hoping to, you know, maybe spend some of the funds on improving some of the signage. Our problem is that we've lost several members. We don't really have a great core group anymore, because some people have dropped out. There are only very few people remaining. So Jack suggested that I bring this to the meeting tonight to, you know, kind of put it out to the group. If the committee is going to continue, we need more people to volunteer for it. And we also need to know if those funds, it was 12,500 that the pond committee was allocated, are still available.
They are gonna be extended for, I believe, another 2 years.
So they don't have to be spent until.
Well, I think there's something the select board has to do to ask for it to be extended, but I'm pretty sure that the money will still be available.
Well, it's possible the DCR might have funding for that program again by then, if that is, I think beyond 2025, 2026, they thought that there was a possibility that they might have funds available. The original plan was to spend the money on doing a big study of all of the different things that I just mentioned, and then some, and developing a long-term pond management plan. So we're talking about planning tonight. I don't, you know, so I guess I put it out to this group and to the town, if there's still interest in that. And, do we wanna hold on to the money for the pond committee? And is anybody interested in volunteering for this committee? So those are my questions, and my update. And if there are any questions for me.
I have a question.
Mhm.
I haven't been swimming there this year, but usually I do. And there is all this growth in the pond. So when you swim, they tickle your belly kind of, and a lot of people complain about that and feel that they don't want to swim in it because it's unpleasant. Is there something you plan to do about it? Can there be something done?
I think that the plants you're talking about, I don't know the name of them, Jack probably does, the common lily plant.
Yeah, water shields.
Water shield, they're actually, it's a native species, it's a sign of a healthy pond. They're good food source for a lot of animal species, a lot of swimmers are annoyed by them, this is true. And they can be manually controlled, we can clear areas. But we weren't terribly concerned about them, I know they annoy people, but they're not, they're not bad for the pond in any way.
So that's good to know.
Dario,
I know Ashfield is going back and forth with that, whether to remove it by hand or do some kind of chemical thing, and there's, it's for years, last several years, this is just from reading the Ashfield paper.
Wow.
I don't have any direct line to it, but, it's a big concern there, and they have, similar kind of growth.
Yeah, I think many years ago, there was another pond committee, and I think there was some controversy on the committee about whether or not to use chemicals, and I think ultimately it was decided not to. I think nobody on our committee is interested in using
Right.
chemicals to control.
Right, but hand removal is incredibly laborious and time consuming. And getting people to do that would be difficult, especially if you don't have many people.
True, but I think some people do it on their own accord, and as Kara pointed out, there are no weeds in the pond right now. I think by the end of the season, they've mostly disappeared. I just swam in it the other day and I didn't see any.
okay, moving right along. Biking is hilly, but it's really nice country roads around here, and you could ride all through the holy forest and so forth and so on. And Jeannie and I have done a lot of routes, I mean, we could draw maps of good routes and so forth. I don't know how many people have bikes and do that sort of thing, but that's another option for recreation. And then camping. The DAR forest has camping, they have a very nice campsite and a beach, and their own little beach that goes along with it. And Government Park, obviously, next door and in the town, offers camping, both tent camping and RVs and things like that. And, yes, Polly.
I could speak to biking a little bit. I just, I get, notices from the Massachusetts Municipal Association, being known as Select Board. And, they just put out a notice, there's a grant for, mountain biking trails. And they have done a lot of research about how much business that brings to a town in terms of staying in bed and breakfasts and going out to restaurants. And I thought that might be just the kind of business this community could go for. And unfortunately, I got the notice this week, and the deadline is 2 weeks from now, and you needed a shovel-ready project. I'm like, okay, maybe next year.
Well, there are some
That's
nice,
something to
there
consider.
are some nice trails in the, Kevin DeDuke Forest already, and they're maintained by the club, it's a mountain bike club. Yeah, they're really excellent trails too.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
If you go up to the Holly Fire Station and access the trails there's a huge network. A lot of people.
Yeah.
Well, that's something then maybe to promote for Plainfield.
Sure. Yes. And then the camping, I mentioned the two closest ones, but there's a business now, I don't know if you've heard of it, it's kind of like a camping, Airbnb kind of a thing, where a private landowner can have a campsite developed on their property. And if it's done properly, they can make some money on it. Company,
I had one, and that company has gone out of business,
oh, has it? Okay,
and the town asked me to remove it.
that's right, there were two, I think, at one point.
Yeah.
And the Board of Health had to close down one of them because they didn't have proper facilities, sanitary facilities, so maybe that's why it's too complicated. Okay, moving along here, question, yes.
Question, comment. So, my name is Daniel Hayes, and I'm representing Earth Dance.
Right.
And we actually offer camping, so I think that's not well known.
No, it isn't.
So, yeah, we have, because I think we were actually at a certain point asking for permitting, and then we got a letter from the town saying we don't need a permit because we are zoning exempt, as a nonprofit. So we offer, that when we don't have retreats. I don't know if we want to list that somehow, make that more known.
That would be great. That'd be really great.
And the same, I was sitting with the forest walks and hikes. We have around 100 acres, and we actually have a trail network, and we're sending that network, and we have internal maps. And again, I think there's a fine line, so that sometimes we have groups that come in and that take over our site. And during those times, of course, people couldn't hike. And during the week, oftentimes it could be available. So I'm not sure how we would indicate, maybe there's a sign open or closed at the parking lot.
Perhaps people could call and make a reservation, say, are you open for
hiking? Yeah, because we also have the Betts Mine, which is an active rock mine.
Yeah.
People come from all over the states to mine rhodonite or other gems, which I think is also not well known. Yeah, it's a state stone. Yeah, exactly. It was actually I think Betts was involved in making that the state stone. So, yeah, back in the day.
That's a great resource. Thank you, Dan.
Most people also eat there?
So we do have some activities with the Council of Aging, whereby we were offering meals. And we offer retreats. If you would like somebody to cook for you, we could put in a request. We do have cooks on site, so because we cook for groups. Normally when people come for a private retreat or to camp, then they would just cook for themselves, and it's not impossible.
Because we don't have a restaurant around here as far as I know.
Right.
That's true, actually, that we've never tried that as a business model, and it could be an interesting, like, one night a week to offer a meal.
Unique then.
Yeah.
Great idea.
Okay.
Be there next week.
If you were a restaurant, I would come.
And they do farm to garden, farm to table.
Yeah.
Menus.
Yeah, we actually put in a grant, which we didn't get, for a specific COA funded program for folks from the community to come and help in the gardens, learn about permaculture practices, and then preparing nutritious meals. I think we'll hopefully put that in again.
Try to get it funded.
Do it again,
somewhere along
yeah.
the line, yeah.
And of course, it's also, possible that we just open a restaurant.
Hello. Are you familiar with Gloriosas in Ashfield? It's a wedding venue, and on one night a week throughout the summer, they offer, small plates and beverages and things like that, and people come, and it's kind of a gathering place in town. So there's a way to do it that doesn't corrupt your core model of doing retreats, but allows you to designate a night that's going to be open to the public and get people from town to see that as a place to go and share community. Just a thought.
And then another option would be Alice's kitchen or restaurant, Alice Casolano in Cummington. She's having like Saturday night, she's having her pizza night. And they are obviously approved by the health department because they sell and they cook and sell all kinds of food right from their kitchens. And then this venue is done outside because they have great big outdoor wood stove like for pizzas and things. But it's a really wonderful opportunity. And she's done other, she does cooking classes too. So you can take classes on Indian cuisine or Mexican cuisine or soups and things like that. So there are a lot of opportunities if there's anybody who had a large enough kitchen or a kitchen that was approved to do a variety of different kinds of things that I think a lot of people would be interested in.
Yeah, we have a commercial kitchen, we have inspectors coming regularly, so.
Yes, I'll mention that Ellen DuPont gave them an A+. That says something.
Jeff? Yes.
The farm side and farm to table. My name is Emily Boss. I used to live here a while back. I work at Franklin Land Trust down in Shelburne, and we have 2 properties here in Plainfield. One of them is the Guyette Farm, which Evelyn Guyette gifted to us a good long time ago, 100 acres or so. And just in the last year, Thelma Pilgrim gifted about 86 acres to the Franklin Land Trust. So those are both open for public. There's trails on the Guyette Farm that are well established. There's a lot of nice places to walk. And I'm saying this now actually because there's also a community garden that's independent of the land trust. You know, we work with a community group, the Raspberry Hill Garden folks, but they maintain a community garden that people can rent a lot for to do their own gardening. And there are raspberries there that the public can enjoy. And this year there was an amazing bumper crop of blueberries. So I just want to make sure everybody knows that during this season, there are a lot of wonderful blueberries. The bears like them too, so you have to share. But it's a great place to come out and enjoy them.
Oh, Emily, I know in the past, the Land Trust has done some really nice workshops and different things going on there, nature walks and so forth. Do you plan to do that, continue to do that in the future?
Definitely. We're still sort of getting our feet on the ground on West Hill Road where Thelma's land is. So that'll be more getting active in the future. But we recently also came into possession of the former Edge Hill Golf Course in Ashfield, which has some trails that people use as well. There's one big part that's part of the Ashfield walks. And that is going to be restored into wildlife habitat, but also with some public component. And we recently got a grant from EEA that will include some sort of citizen science sites where you can go and take a picture on your phone and then add to the observations of wildlife and the things that are seen there. So watch that space. And definitely Guyette continues to be one of our most important properties and most visited and most cared for by us. So
Emily, can I ask you if there are any incipient plans to put up building at the Guyette property?
We are always thinking about the building, and the same obstacles are there. There has been a lot of community support for it that's allowed us to, during one of the property management operations, we did a wildlife opening, which we've done bird habitat, bird inventories, which have shown that there's an incredible amount of increased birds in the land now. Some of the wood that was taken down was milled to replace the barn that was taken down. There was a smaller portion of it that we'd like to rebuild, timber frame, and it's, you know, safely stored somewhere. But what we're doing is continuing to seek funds to do the whole operation to build it. But that's something we would really love to do. It would be a great benefit to the community, might help with the community garden. And so that's definitely in our plans for the future.
Oh, good.
I brought a little information about conserved land. I know this is an open space focused tonight, but people always ask. So I brought a couple of copies of maps and I'll put them up for Jack and for people to take a look at. And just one thing that I noticed, you know, that it's just that if the numbers in the town are that of 5,000 acres in
Plainfield, about 36.9 of the total town area is conserved permanently. Much of which is either the Audubon land or Kenneth Dubuque Memorial State Forest at state, and then we have a few holdings. And there's APRs, and 0.5 acres is actually owned by the town of conserved land. So that just really stood out to me. I had never really thought about that. And that's associated with Plainfield Pond. So there are other areas that are owned by the town, but they're the public safety and, you know, playgrounds and things like that. So just something to think about for the future of Plainfield.
Which areas associated with the pond?
The 0.5 acres on the, this is what's on this is Mass GIS has conservation land and open space permanently conserved. And so when you look at Plainfield, for municipal land that's conserved, just half an acre comes up, and that's the area by Plainfield Pond. And of course, if anybody's interested in conservation or you want to work, we'd love to partner or support whatever your efforts are.
Okay, next, the athletic fields and play area there, that's obviously recreational and I think pretty popular. Any comments on that or ideas for improvements or ideas? We use it for the barbecue, there's the playground for the kids. There's a baseball park there. I think we have a little league now. So widely used. Okay, indoor spaces. Well, we're in one of those indoor spaces. The availability of indoor space for various things, for presentations or shows and so forth and so on. We have this. We have we have the upstairs technically, and we have the library, and there's the safety complex. There's some. Well, in the future, we may be able to use the upstairs and we replace the fire escape, and that'll add a lot of capacity. Any ideas on these things for improvements or other ideas?
Well, I go to coming for the senior exercise classes, and Polly is now coming as well because she's trying to learn all these exercises so that people from Plainfield can go there. And you said that you would need to do it in Cummington because we do not have a space big enough here in town, right?
A space that we can use regularly and like I've done classes in this room. But it's very difficult because you have to put all the tables and chairs and then put them back. And upstairs isn't available because of the fire escape. And the library is, I guess, owned not really by the town. So there's the space in the back.
It's owned by the town, but it's controlled by the library board.
Okay. So that's not off public use, and so is the safety complex. You know, the fire people have their reasons that they need to keep their space unoccupied from events. We wouldn't be good underfoot when there's an emergency.
And it's part of the charter of the loan and the grant that built the building. Part of the charter is that it is for public safety purposes only. Which doesn't necessarily include community activities, but they're generous with it when they can be.
Space,
Isn't
and that was an issue.
A basement that is a big space?
That might be town offices in the future.
I see. Okay.
And then the town offices area might be a space for community gatherings. But this is an issue in town.
To get the basement of the town offices, to the basement of the library building, the former Halleckville School, or I guess it was called.
Right.
We have to trade the current town office classroom space to the library so that we can get that space, which is currently controlled by the library. That's my understanding. Does that make sense?
Really, but there are a couple other hands raised, and I want to make sure we get to these people too. I don't know who was first, David or Delilah. How about we go with David?
Okay. I would just like to say that the town hall is the space that you are in right now. Just not only is it an issue with the tables for activities, it's not a very welcoming space. Um, and so I think it would be nice to have a nice space in town. Uh, and uh, and maybe this, if we have the fire escape, maybe that upstairs can be renovated to, you were talking about activities that are more social than business. With all these tables, it's fine for a business meeting. Uh, but if people are going to sit around and talk and have a cup of tea or something like that, maybe a more welcoming space would be nice to have.
And before we get to Delilah, I'll mention that none of these spaces are open. They need keys to get in, and those keys are only given out to certain people who are allowed to be in the building for whatever reason. So it's not like there's an open community space where people can go and hang out and play a game of chess. Okay, Delilah, your turn.
It was just a brief comment about, I know there's been interest in resurfacing the basketball court, and I know that is used by youth. And I personally don't know the state of it, but the last time I took a look at it, seemed like it needed to be redone. So, brief comment.
And I'll make a brief comment about athletics, that it seems like the latest and greatest fad is pickleball. Everybody wants their own pickleball court.
There are 3 brand new pickleball courts in Covington.
Ah.
Rachel Meadow paid for.
Right.
They're wonderful, really.
In West Covington.
Covington.
Oh,
Yeah. Covington. By,
Rachel want to move to Plainfield?
Yeah, exactly. They need a Rachel.
Pettingill Park. Yeah, thank you. They're Pettingill Park.
I have a question. Cynthia, 207 West Hill Road. Is there any plan to fix this building and put a fire escape?
There is. I think the holdup is funds.
Right. Funny how that.
No. To say about this. Go ahead, Judy.
So the planning board has been working on a plan to renovate this building and also completely renovate the space around it for a long time. It would become like a village green project, which would be a center of town. There would be more parking. We would close off, I believe it is the part of Union Street from 116 up to where Church Street intersects with Union Street, and that area would become a parking area. The building would have a new a new fire escape for the second floor. It would have, we just got a grant to have a new geothermal heat pump, in-ground heat pump for this building, which will reduce our dependence on fossil fuels to heat. And well, I don't think it's really cooled these days, but it would provide cooling and it would reduce the need for fossil fuels for heating. There's a lot going on, and if you're interested, you should come to some of this planning board meetings, and you should maybe join the planning board, because I know they're looking for more volunteers. So get involved. That's my pitch.
So what happened to the issue about the basketball court, the repaving. I didn't hear a response to that.
I thought ARPA funds funded that.
No, it did not.
No,
No, the ARPA funds did the baseball field, went to the baseball field, not the basketball court.
Well, are there any ARPA funds undesignated still? That could be directed in that direction?
No, there aren't.
Jerry has his hand up. Go ahead, Jerry.
I thought our previous highway department guy was gonna pave it at one point. I don't know whatever happened to that, but he talked about it at several meetings.
He retired.
Yeah,
Philip, do you want to say something? No. Okay.
no, but other than maybe if they, for some other project, if they have a little leftover asphalt or something, they could tackle it for us at no cost.
Jeanette to the highway department, new highway boss,
Mark, Dan, you had a question for?
On the indoor spaces, so we have very beautiful spaces. I don't know if you've been to our stands. The difficulty is that we can't offer them on a very regular basis. And if there are things that are like, this date, we want to do something big, we can make that happen unless it's already reserved. And again, weekdays is, pretty easy unless you're getting into the summer, because then there's longer rentals and activities that happen. And yeah, very open to work with the town to offer low price to do with the COA and to make it accessible. Yeah.
That sounds great. Help the idea.
So the last topic would be historic sites. And Jennifer, I see you're here tonight. You want to make any comments on that? Oh, you're muted.
Did you say comment on the historic sites?
Yeah, would you have anything to say about that? I mean,
Yes,
features on the landscape and so forth, that sort of thing. Or
right.
just the general history.
Yeah, I think it would be great to have a land acknowledgement from the town to acknowledge the tribes whose land we live on and their existence today. I think that's really important. It's becoming more mainstream, and it's a really great step to making our world a better place. But I have another comment on what I keep thinking about is that Plainfield is mostly older folks. And I think that there's a wealth of knowledge and experience here that probably we don't have any idea about. And, sometimes, like, I know this woman who, Jackie Cooper, she interviewed a lot of the elders in Ashfield and made a little book about their life and their life experiences. It's kind of like a treasure for the town. I know all the ideas are easy. It takes people that are committed to doing the work. And I thank the folks in Plainfield who are active and making the town more usable for everybody, and thoughts about making places for people to get together. Yeah. I know that when Kate Albrecht lived here, we had native speakers come to town, either Plainfield or Cummington. We had Bonnie Hartley of the Stockbridge Mohican tribe come and talk with us and share the history. And I think it's really important to know your history, to know where you are and your place in it.
Program, what, Jennifer, do you know the program on Saturday in Primrose Falls? You would announce any of
The Nolambika project?
Yeah.
Yeah, that should be a really good program with Marge Bruchak and Dan Shears. I think they're talking about
Yeah.
systems. But I'll be over at Craylow Historic Site
Oh.
in Rensselaer. So there's a trade days there. Yeah.
One thing we have talked about that might be added to the list would be winter activities. We have snowshoeing, cross-country skiing, snowmobiling. We have the sledding hill in town that I don't even know if many people even know about it, but it's at the bottom of South Union Street. And, so we have opportunities for recreation year round here, and it would be great to especially for the younger families to know about it, because they're the ones who are gonna be looking for places to play come snowfall.
Yeah, Noski was a great place too, on cross-country skiing, snowshoeing, the trails in the Kevin the Butte Forest, for example.
Some sprouts.
And there's a
Some
nice,
sprouts.
there's a nice sledding hill at the Guyette Farm too. It's wicked when it's ice. It's like, I've been settled there. All right, let's flip over to arts and culture.
Jack?
Yes,
On all of these things, I think that there's really a huge gap in our communication, both within the town. People knowing about these things, and certainly to publicize them, if you want people coming to town. I doubt it very much is done with that, at least I don't know. There used to be a map sort of, but they did just list all the different places right in town.
yeah.
And the other thing would be that since the maps and things are like in the library or something, again, they're closed spaces most of the time. And people coming to town can't pick up the maps. I wondered maybe if we could have a central place that isn't out in the weather, because the maps, when they're in the weather, they get pretty batty after a while. Where all the information is about different places in town.
Well, you can also possibly have clubs, like a hiking club or a biking club or a
Right,
recreation
that's
club
still-
where you can spread the information.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we need to let it be known that these things are here, particularly if we want to start a little restaurant or something, or an Airbnb or something. Maybe nobody wants to know, and I don't know, but if we want income coming to town, we should also need.
Any other comments? Judy?
Just thinking about other recreational opportunities in water, we have actually several ponds in town. Crooked Pond, which isn't, I don't think there's a public area there, but there's Hollifield Pond and there is a public beach there. I know DCR has some plans to do some work on that. It was formerly maintained by some American folks. They're not there anymore, so nobody is maintaining that beautiful trail right now, but hopefully DCR will, they shared with Buddy, who has a house across from the street from the pond this summer, that they're planning on being more involved there and doing some things to maintain it. So fingers crossed.
Well,
But that's a great resource.
There's good opportunities to go over to the DAR forest for swimming and for kayaking.
Yeah.
They have a nice boat launch there and so forth.
Jack, just one more thing,
Sure,
since we're
yeah.
plugging things in town, I'd just like to, if anybody's not aware of the mill site down off River Road and has been down there, there's some good signage and some incredible stonework. As well as, of course, a swimming hole, which many of you know about probably. But anyway, I would just say, if you haven't checked it out, do.
And River Road is also very good in the winter for cross-country skiing.
Yeah, it's a lovely walking
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Or you can actually ski on the snowmobile trails, exactly.
Is it true that there was a very famous Hollywood movie made by that waterfall?
Oh.
That somebody told me about, but I'm not sure that it's true.
I haven't heard
You
that.
know, some of the great, actresses, supposedly went, look at the waterfall, and, you don't know about it.
I know.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
We can work it out.
I mean, it's pretty general, but it's just starting from there for discussions. We have this arts fest every year, and it's in the library. And unfortunately, it's been scheduled at the same time we have the fire and barbecue. So I don't think it's that heavily attended, and it's a shame because we have lots of talented people here in town who display their works. And so we might want to think about another place, maybe even the town hall. Yes, definitely.
The Arts Fest was discontinued last year because the barbecue moved to the safety
Oh,
complex.
what's this, you didn't have it this year, that's.
We didn't have it last year.
Yeah.
And we won't have it. And the cultural council has no plans to host it in the future, which
Oh,
it has a long history. Arts Fest. Yeah.
well, if you had a different place and a different time, do you think you'd reconsider?
Well, at the same time that we kind of lost our, we figured people are not gonna walk from the safety complex.
Right.
Down, a block to the library, this just wasn't gonna happen.
What about outdoor kiosks that could be set up at the?
The other part of it was that when we called people who had participated as artists in the past, we were getting fewer and fewer interests, people that were interested. So it just really started to seem like it had run its course. We thought about pairing up with other events in town, the tea that happens at the historic slopes and holiday time. But nothing really kind of popped. So if anybody has ideas about how to breathe new life into Arts Feast, please talk to the new cultural council chair, because it's no longer there.
I was going to mention what Lori's organized over the last year or two, so the arts, exhibits and, what do you call them?
No, art shows.
Art shows.
Art shows
Yeah,
at the library. I was gonna mention that. Talk to Lori Austin about that, because she organizes those.
They've been wonderful, and the artist comes and does it's just all the news. In the show.
I've been working, I had this idea of using that room in the library, but for art shows, because it's such a beautiful room, the conference room. And the trustees were very much for it, and I talked to Denise, and she's been extremely supportive, and I've been meeting with the trustees monthly. And so we're kind of on a pattern now where I organize a show pretty much we'll run for 2 months. So every 2 months, there's a new show. And I'm focusing on Plainfield, not only Plainfield artists, but artists in the hill towns. And lots of times there's artists that have professional backgrounds or professional artists that haven't shown very much. And then each of them, I interview each of them so that they give a talk, an opening talk on the Saturday morning of the opening. So right now there's a show of Jan Roby's art. She's a 89-year-old artist in Worthington, and they're abstract, large abstract pieces. So I'll be doing 5 of those every year, probably. And then in March, the trustees have a show that's fiber arts. March every year.
There are a couple hands raised in the Zoom meeting. David, are you still there? Do you want to say something?
Well, I've been preempted. I wanted to mention Lori's show, and why not have a Plainfield artists show as one of those shows that would replace Arts Feast. Maybe people don't want to be part of Arts Feast because it's up for 1 or 2 days. But something longer term that gave people a little more exposure might be worth the effort. And not just the professional artists, but there are lots of artists who are good but amateurs who it would be valuable for the town to see their work as well.
Just one
I was
correction,
gonna
it's
say-
not Lori Austin.
I was gonna say that, when people have an idea, such as Judy Williams had about dogs, she put on a really fine show. And I think that if we encourage people who have a passion about something, might be goats or, weaving or something else, we should encourage people to share their passion in some kind of a fashion and give them some support and recognition and advertisements through all our different venues. Because I think that that's what brings people together in community.
It's possible to record these sessions that Laurie puts on and others in the library and post them on the website so that people who can't make it at that particular performance could see them at some future date. Because there's really a lot of very interesting things in.
Is there? My name is Judy. I live on West Hill Road. Is there a way to, first of all, if they're new people, it's really helpful when someone says their name and their role. What are they doing here? What is their role in the community? Because select board, I don't know. And then if there are committees and there's a chair and I'd like to sign up and get involved, how would I do that? And can I do that like as I walk out? Because I'm very interested in the topic of arts and culture and would be very interested in being part of the planning, but how would I enter into that? And I think there are lots of new people coming in. I think there's a lot of like good energy coming in. So I think we could capture it by making information easily attainable, which I don't feel like it is right now.
I have been working nonstop this past month on the new website.
All right.
For the town, which is gonna roll out probably by the end, beginning of November. And it's a lot easier to navigate. It has a lot more information. And it has one page of contacts and it lists everybody who's the chair in a committee and their email and their phone number. So when this happens, I think that will be a good springboard and it can only build in the direction of making communication better. And it's the whole reason that.
But isn't there also an all committees plan? All committee get together again like the last year, Judy?
Yeah, September 30th, there'll be an all committee board.
Chairs of the committees are there and you could go there. Okay.
Yes, that's September 30th, from 7 to 8:30.
No, 6:30 to 8.
Yeah.
6:30 to 8. At the
30 to 8:30.
the public safety complex, the fire station.
Jack, I'd like to say one more thing that's going on in this room. Cheryl, there's been a group of artists that have been doing a self-help workshop for many years, and I took it over last year when the office was kind enough to let us use the space. It's now being run by Cheryl Noyan, who is Ralph Timberlake's partner, and they had their first one this morning. It's Thursdays from 9 to 12, no fee, just walk in with your art materials. There were about 10 people just doing art here. And it's open to anybody. Unfortunately, it's during school hours, so kids and a lot of working people can come. But it's every Thursday from 9 to 12. So if you want to get notices, you can talk to me. I'll connect you with Cheryl, and you can get on the mailing list, the email list.
Where is that?
It's right in this room. And people help each other. There's no teacher, so it's just a workshop where people do art together and give each other feedback. It's really been very nice, and this group is the vestige, not the vestige, but the successor of groups that have been going on in the Hill Towns for about 13 years. Starting in Worthington.
Judy, your hand is up. Do you have something
is.
you want to say?
I do.
Okay.
I wholeheartedly endorse all of what everyone is saying. And I have thought for a while that it would be really wonderful to have a specific show. I think a lot of the things that Lori has been organizing, which are wonderful, I've been to several of them, where it is collectors showing their art and how they came to find that art, and also people who have done some art and talking about how they came to be artists. But to have a town-wide art show at least once a year, if not twice a year, start small, go for once a year, where local artists are invited to show their art to the town, and for maybe more than one day, because I think the shows that have gone on at the library have been only one Saturday morning, or maybe it's up for a day or two more, but I think that that would bring out a lot of the creativity that already exists in this town and make it more visible to everyone else. I think the biggest challenge we have in this town around all of these kinds of events is the communication, and how does it get communicated, and where does it get communicated. I think that the new website will do a lot to help that, but we need to also take advantage of the two electronic signs that we have in town. We mostly use them for emergencies or, town annual meetings or things like that. But we could use it. We could use it for other sorts of arts events. And I mean, as the mother of an artist, I know that there are lots of really good artists in town that we don't know about, that are hidden from our view. And I strongly support the broader dissemination of this kind of information. This has been a wonderful conversation, and I thank all of you for participating in it.
You have your hand up. Would you like to say something?
Did you say my name? We couldn't hear you.
Yes, your
Oh.
hand is up.
Yes, we're ready.
I think that whole conversation just seems to bring us back though to where we hold these events and the spaces, and sort of a constant refrain of like, we don't really have a good space for a lot of this stuff. And maybe when the upstairs of the town hall is accessible, that could be a space. But again, we have a lot of elderly people who, that's kind of difficult having it be on a second floor. And then again, the library is hard to access. So I don't know. I think as a town, it'd be beneficial in the long term, since this is a planning conversation, to talk more about the spaces and how those get used. And maybe we do need to make a long-term plan, like 10, 15-year plan, to build an annex or something that could better facilitate gatherings of all types.
I completely agree with what Adrian is saying. I think that was Adrian. I can't see very well on my screen, but I think that one of the things that would facilitate a lot of what we're talking about is having a community center, not unlike the one that exists in Cummington, which I believe was funded by a state grant. And so we need to get on the project of where do we do that? But that one, I believe, was, I don't know if it was built from scratch or if they had a building that they renovated, but I think that that would be a really incredible addition to the cultural life of this town and the community building of this town, to have a space where people could gather to play a game of chess and have a cup of coffee, or where we could hold community arts events that would highlight the talent that we have in the town. And so I don't know, that's my thought. I wholeheartedly endorse what Adrian was saying.
I was gonna also remind folks that in Cummington, they have the Friday Night Cafe. And last week, or maybe it was 2 weeks ago, they had storytelling. And I think that there's a part of the arts that is either musical and or that is written expression for people who write poetry or short stories or just tell stories about their past. I know that Jennifer Lee has on many occasions invited people who told stories about the Native American culture. And I just think that there's a whole lot of aspects to arts and culture besides just the visual or there's the performing arts as well. I think of several ballet dancers who live in town. I think dancing is a good form of exercise as well as just entertainment. But so I agree, if we had a space, a lot more of these things might take place.
Yeah. So I think I don't know if this fills a need. I think we as Earth Dance could offer the town a weekend a year, like free of charge to use our facilities. Potentially could be donation based, if people feel to give something, we could sell food. And we have, lots of spaces for performing arts. I don't know if people know, though, Earth Dance, it's not well known in town. And we currently have people from Colombia, from Israel, from Siberia, because we are the oldest contact improvisation community in the world. Contact improvisation is a postmodern dance form that started in the US in the 70s, and it's become a worldwide phenomenon. And we're like this kind of bubble where people that do this practice, they know who we are. They travel from literally, from China to come and spend time with us. I don't know how to give that back. It's very participatory. We could potentially also, if there is something that happens, put on a performance just to show what happens there. And I'm happy to kind of offer this weekend, spring or fall would probably be the ideal. If that's good. Find me. I don't know the structures of the committees. So if that feels true, come find me.
That's wonderful. That'd be wonderful.
Sadie, you had a question a while back.
Yeah, what was I gonna say? It's going back to the arts piece and one of the things that people actually complained about, or not complained about, but asked about over and over when I was on the Arts Council, is having it be a sale of artwork, which it became again, but we had a point in time when there were kiosks outside, because somebody mentioned kiosks. So if something were to happen at the barbecue, I suppose kiosks and people could sell their wares. It's a challenge if the weather is not friendly, and not all artists want to have their things in that. So it would limit who sell or be there, but if that was an idea, that was a while.
I just want to mention the Hilltown Open Studio Tour, first weekend in October. This year we have Guy Matsuda in Plainfield and Larry Preston, one of the premier artists in the Hilltowns.
Adrian will be at Guy Matsuda's. Adrian Almquist will be at Guy Matsuda's.
I forgot. And Lori Israel is taking part in the tour house in Worthington, so as am I.
Is Plume from Verizon?
And Plume, yes. The Plainfield contingent.
Like Melly?
Mike Melly is not doing it this year. I think that's amazing.
I was thinking that'd be great to have some kind of a special event for kids art. Invite young people, someone less than 60 years old to.
Well, that kids who need some.
I can remember too, where kids are concerned in athletics, that there used to be the whole town Olympics. And it rotated
Yeah.
to different towns. And both of my kids were in that, and it was a fun day. So I'd like to see that revived. But
It's
again,
still happening. My son is signed up, I think, for
Oh,
something in
good.
Goshen, I think,
we'll
2 weeks or something. or-
should get it to come to
I don't
Plainfield.
know. No, but you can rotate.
Peter, I'm thinking about concerts at 7 and how we as a town might help partner with the church in the future, and making sure that that continues and has support by the community beyond just the hard work that a few members of the church do, and if it's possible to partner with the church in terms of use of their space for activities. So there might be some way for us to access facilities that we don't own and controls the town to enhance our ability to host other activities. Yes.
I know that there is a book club that meets once a month at the church in that nice, newly renovated wing that they have.
Fall thing.
Well,
Zoom.
we've been meeting live. Yeah, there's some live. Yeah. Nice space, but it's very small. Yeah.
Regarding space, I will say, as the chair of the buildings committee, we are extremely sensitive about the fact that this fire escape has not been repaired. We have done our due diligence to come up with a plan to replace it. We don't have the revenue to do it, we're finding sources to do that. And having that space available could provide for all kinds of activities that we can't even imagine, because there's a stage, there's a ability to host performances, have kids involved in children's theater. I mean, there's many things that could happen up there if we could just get it back. So,
And there is an elevator too,
yes.
so that doesn't preclude people that are over 60 going.
And it's been so nicely renovated, that room.
Anybody who hasn't seen it, go up there, it's a whole new
Yeah,
thing.
no.
It's a trip. Are you talking about? I can.
But.
Any other comments?
Back here, John.
Oh, yes.
I'm in Pelletier.
Oh, yes.
I'm the current director of the Hilltown ISDCA. And it's admirable with all the efforts that you they're doing in the art area. And it takes commitment and space and sometimes a lot of money too. So commend all your efforts. I'm surprised that you have such activity here in the town. Addressing the youngsters guild, we've had shows since 1980. I've been a director since late 90s, early 2000. When I can't remember now, I lose track of time. But anyway, we've invited students from the local schools at our art shows to participate until their work, and that's one way you might open it up to go.
Yeah,
Anyways,
it's been pretty successful inviting these students and so forth.
well, we haven't, for some reason, the town shifted its schools from Gateway to Hampshire region. And so we kind of lost that contact because we had been inviting people from Gateway. And we had reconnected with Hampshire region. I will mention that we have a show coming up
in November 17th and 18th at the Little Big Town Hall. And I gave Lori my business card, anything that maybe we could work out some arrangement with the activities and efforts that she's doing. We're always open for new artists to join us. And as Catherine indicated earlier, sometimes things just peter out, and unfortunately, we're not we did face that in the summer show. We had one summer show, we're gonna discontinue it. Our most popular show is the holiday show, which is in November, and that does pretty well. At one time, we were up to 4 shows a year at 3 different locations. And it didn't work out too well. You need a committed group of people to promote these, to advertise them, and to solicit for artists and whatnot. It seems that Lori is pretty much engaged in doing that, and Catherine will be too. No one mentioned the pottery tours. Do you have potters?
Yeah.
Yes.
Nobody in Plainfield.
No one in Plainfield.
He's not on the Hilltown.
He's not on there.
Budget tours, well, the Arts Alliance studio tours have done pretty well, I think. What?
We hope.
You hope.
Jennifer Lee has a comment or a question.
Yeah, a comment, the Hilltown Artisans Guild in Worthington that Ed and Helen are so active. I've been doing that for quite some years, and it's wonderful. It's amazing. I do really well selling my baskets there and see all kinds of people, friends and neighbors from over the decades. You know, it's really a great show. I just want to let people know.
For your baskets.
What's that?
I said, as are your baskets.
Oh, thank you.
We did a COA event where Jennifer Lee came and taught us how to make those baskets. And it was really special. And each of us got to walk away with our own basket. It's very nice.
There's no art gallery in the Hilltown anywhere. And I'm told there's a new one starting in Chester, but I don't know if Chester's in the Hilltowns. I haven't decided. But you know, for years I've been thinking like, could we have one? And I know that Dave Christopoulos at the CDC is interested in getting something going, but it's, you know, it's not even a concept of a plan. Really, but maybe someday.
That's a great idea for a future plan.
Yeah. The next donated house.
Yeah.
The old gun shop.
Don't do it. Don't do it. White elephant.
I think we sort of
Yeah.
covered these ideas here already, unless you have other things you'd like to bring up. Perhaps we can adjourn.
Well, the question is really there in that middle newsprint. If anybody wants to give us their final thoughts on.
Which one?
Yeah, we've got a 10-year window here that we're creating this master plan for. We've had the listening sessions, and then the steering committee, which is Jack representing the Conservation Commission, Anna Honchett here, the Ag Commission, I'm Peg Keller on the zoning board, and Peter on the planning board. And then Dalila, who's listening from home, interested citizen and our liaison to One Plainfield, who really did such a great community outreach piece for the ARPA funds. So we have one more session, October 10th, on housing, land use, agriculture, and zoning ramifications, and then we're gonna kick back over the winter and try to figure out how to put together what we have heard from you all. And this is part of a state requirement to be competitive for funds. There's a kind of a formulaic template that we have to produce in order to get the master plan approved by the state. So if there's any kind of specific ramifications that translate into either zoning or other kind of warrants, we're trying to be prepared for town meeting in 2025, but we will have at least one, maybe two, just more generic public sessions, maybe in November, just to kind of put the word out to everybody now that we've got the Zoom going. Thank you so much, Polly. Hell of a lot of work. So,
Judy too, for writing the grant and getting us the funding.
so now that we can reach people presently, in present and from their home locations, we do want to have a couple more public sessions just to kind of summarize everything that we've heard. So we're really trying to focus on the most important and critical priorities over the next 10 years, really related to all those things, demographic, economic, and really climate change is the biggie. So we did do a plan with Conway School a couple of years ago. That's online. It's an amazing plan. If you haven't seen it, please take a look at it. It has very specific recommendations on how to move forward in this new world that we, I think, are experiencing sooner than maybe we thought we would have to be. So that's why we put the list of existing documents up there. There's a lot of stuff that already exists. So, and all those things are online. And I think once the new website gets launched, then they'll be easy to be found. But in pulling the master plan together through the planning board, we didn't want to reinvent the wheel. We just wanted to throw out these topics, see what people are thinking about them, get some sense of prioritization and get this plan submitted to the state so we can be competitive for grants. Because as Ben usually says in this back row and all of our other sessions, we need people, we need help, and we need money. So thank you all for being here. Good job, Jack. And hopefully October 10th, we'll see you at the last final listening session. So be thinking about housing and land use and agriculture.
All right.
I just want to bring up sort of, since we're talking about long-term planning, maybe future discussions about the town possibly adopting the Community Preservation Act, which would help is, in obvious ways. Maybe some of you know that in the hill towns, Goshen and Conway have it, and it's a source of millions, literally millions of dollars from both of those towns. Goshen's using it now big time to do all this work in the center of their town. Maybe you know about it, but anyway, I think that would be a great thing to do. We just have to sell it at town hall. Town meeting, and anyway, I just thought I would bring that up because, for people that don't know, it's the historic resources, it's housing, senior housing, and it's recreation. So those three things cover a lot of different things. And about half the towns in the state have CPAs, not too many in this part of the world, hill towns, but it's very effective. It's a 3% tax. The first $100,000 of your property is exempt. And that's kind of what the basic, and all the money goes into a fund which accrues, and the town uses it as it sees fit. Anyway.
Good point. Anything else, Peg? If someone has a question or comment subsequent to this meeting, is there a contact email or phone or something like that that we would recommend?
Peter has put his email and my email in the post. So it's all, you know, pkeller@town.plainfield.ma.us, I think, something like that, 2 A dots.
All right, go in peace.
Thank you.
Thank you.